Hey, welcome back to another video. For today's video, we're reacting to the Lizard's tier list. So let's just go right on ahead. Okay, we're reacting to this, and I have never watched this. I've watched the fish one, and I think that's it. I think I only watched the fish tier list, but never the other tier list. So we're just watching the lizard tier list, and because lizards are my favorite animals. Well, except for one specific bird. And you can probably see which bird. The corvies. Corvi.
This video was made in partnership with CuriosityStream. Reptiles are a diverse faction full of many strategies, and generally speaking, they tend to be fairly straightforward.
My most favorite in terms of reptiles, so I'm just gonna say this. Favorite in terms of reptiles are definitely the tortoise and the turtles. I don't know why, but they are just so good.
Defensive stats at the cost of mobility. Crocodiles are damage dealers that focus on growling to secure kills.
Makes
Snakes
sense.
optimize for stealth and rely on status effects to bring down their
Yep.
targets. But where do lizards fit into the meta? They aren't really known for extreme speed, but as far as cold-blooded builds go, they're quicker than most. And while not as
And also, want to watch this without any form of commentary on the video whatsoever, it's gonna be down in the description down below, where you can watch the original video from him. So just check it out below if you don't want to watch me reacting to it or having my voice cover it or my pauses. Anywho, again, if you want to watch the original video, it's gonna be down in the description down below.
as tanky as turtles and not as stealthy as snakes, they can hold their own in each of these departments as well. Some of the larger lizards can even give crocodilians a run for their money in the power category too. While many of them could best be described as jack-of-all-trades generalists, there are also plenty of lizards with extremely unique abilities.
Like
So to better
camouflage,
understand the many
poison.
different game plans employed by the lizard player base, today we're going through the lizard tier list. Before we get into the tier list though, first I'd like to start with some background on the history of the lizard faction.
Ooh.
So back during the Carboniferous expansion, the meta revolved around the conflict between the two most powerful factions,
The insect?
amphibians and the arthropods.
Oh.
However, during this time, a small subsection of the amphibian player base unlocked two new special abilities, the eggshell, which allowed them to respawn on dry land rather than in the water,
Ooh.
and scales, which gave them massively increased
defense.
dehydration resistance.
Okay.
This eliminated their reliance on water and allowed them to explore tons of new strategies, eventually diversifying into all of the reptile builds in today's meta, as well as a few that were so overpowered
dinosaurs?
that they ended up getting nerfed. The most powerful lizard build of all time was the Mosasaurus, a
Ooh.
build that arose from a player base of beach-dwelling monitor lizards that spec'd
Went
into
from the
aquatic
sea.
mobility options in order to avoid being griefed by dinosaurs. But what are the most powerful lizards of today's meta? We're actually going to begin in D tier, as I don't think there are any truly awful lizard builds. The adaptations they've made to eliminate the
We just skipped
weaknesses of
F.
their amphibian ancestors is enough to escape bottom tier, in my opinion. So how
Okay.
do lizards stack up? Let's get into the tier list.
Okay, sorry about that. Surprisingly, we are not even like 5 minutes in or halfway in or anything like that, and we already got an ad. Wow. Wow, and it's not
Tier, in my opinion. So how do lizards stack up? Let's get into the tier list.
skinks.
In D tier, we have the skink,
A skink.
smaller lizard build with very little in the way of unique special abilities. Their stats are also quite low, and their game plan generally just consists of chasing down players in the lower weight classes, and struggles pretty hard when forced to defend itself. In particular, this build has a lot of trouble dealing with birds. Despite the fact that it often hunts in grassy fields, it lacks the stealth stats required to avoid detection from above. In fact, many skinks are known for being brightly colored or having one specifically brightly colored body part.
Like brown.
Skinks try to avoid being griefed by digging burrows for themselves, and while burrows are a great hiding place, the burrowing playstyle tends to work best when you've got the ability to launch a powerful attack in a single direction, since the bottleneck of a burrow makes it near impossible for a predator to approach without getting hit. Skinks can't really mount any sort of attack, so if their burrow gets discovered, it's most likely game over. The one defensive ability they do have is one commonly found in the lizard player base.
The tail.
Autonomy. Autonomy allows the user to drop their tail in order to get one free escape from a combo or grab. Now, to be fair, being able
Do
to
they
break out your
regenerate
opponent's
it?
death combos is an extremely useful trait that can save you from certain defeat.
Do they regenerate? Because if I'm not mistaken, some lizards don't actually manage to regenerate their tails. Or if they do, it will take them more than a year or a couple years to regrow them.
But with that said, autotomy is extremely costly to use, isn't guaranteed to work, and leaves you with reduced max HP for the rest of the game,
Yeah.
even if your character has regenerative abilities. For the larger lizard builds, losing your tail also removes one of your best offensive options.
Tail whip.
But for the skink, this isn't as big a
Now the tail whip from Pokemon that just lower the defense. I'm sorry if you heard that motorcycle. Sorry about that. But anyways, if it's not tail whip that is just lower the defense on Pokemon, no. This one does strike. It does strike and hurts.
With all that being said, skinks
With
are one
enough
of the more
whip.
lackluster lizard builds, so let's keep going and get to the more interesting ones.
Oh.
Also in D tier, we have the
Huh.
Basilisk Lizard, which is most notable for
I
its use of the
thought
sprint
they were gonna be
ability,
more
not just to move fast
like
on
one
land,
tier
but
above
also
it.
to cross bodies of water. At first, this ability seems quite impressive, and it certainly is a flashy move, but
Yeah.
upon further examination, I don't think it's really all that useful in the long run. Being on the surface of the water is quite possibly the most vulnerable position in the game, leaving you open to attacks from above and below.
Ooh.
But ultimately, I think it's more important to just point out that the whole reason the reptile faction split off from the amphibian player base in the first place was to remove their reliance on water. So choosing an ability with a pretty situational use that also
Wow, they're
requires that the user
fast.
be on the water's edge to use
They're
it
actually
is kind
really
of a step backwards in the
fast.
grand scheme of things. The Basilisk doesn't even have bad stats. It couldn't use the water dash move without above average mobility. But still, I think its choice of moveset is pretty
Ooh.
self-limiting, and they'd be better off speccing into other signature moves.
Gecko.
In-
Surprisingly, it's really this high. I thought it was gonna be one of the bottom
C
barrels.
tier, we have two lizard builds who invested
Huh.
heavily into the climbing ability. The Gecko build operates in a similar manner to the Tree Frog, with cling pads enabling it to climb any surface with ease.
Okay.
As far as mobility perks though, this is probably one of the best in the game. It works great as an escape option, but is also fantastic for utility and even for offense, allowing the user to
Okay.
approach targets that are normally harder to reach. Being able to hang on tight is also super important for arboreal combat,
Okay.
as fall damage is a major threat. With such a strong clinging ability, geckos can often be the ones tossing other players into the void below.
I mean, makes sense.
Geckos
Like, you can just probably push your enemies down the ledge while you will stick alongside the ledge.
do have a fair
So,
number
yeah.
of weaknesses though. They opt to use their tails to store energy, which can be a useful ability, but unfortunately in doing so, they take away the option to use their tails to attack.
Yep.
Geckos also do not have scales, instead opting for
Oh.
skin that gives disease
Wait, they don't? I thought they do. Oh no! I'm thinking of another lizard.
resistance bonuses.
I'm thinking
So
of
their
another
armor
lizard.
class is lower than that of most lizards, and actually more akin to amphibians. Because of this, they're quite vulnerable to piercing damage, such as bird talons and snake fangs. And with relatively low damage output, their only real hope against such attacks is stealth, which some do definitely excel at. All in all, solid
Yeah.
mid-tier. The Anoli is a small, agile lizard build
Hmm,
with a
I
surprising
don't
number
know
of
this
special
one.
abilities, most notable of which are their adhesive toe pads and their color-changing skin. Most builds that run the cling pad ability tend to be more bulky and cumbersome. Anolis emphatically break this mold, being both excellent climbers
Ooh.
and having a climbing speed that rivals that of the squirrel. Because of this, they're great at escaping attacks by jumping between trees
Ooh.
and scrambling up branches. But where things really
They
get
actually
interesting
looks
is with
really
the color
pretty
change perk.
too.
Now, the ability to change colors is one of the most downright broken stealth perks in the game, and one of the main reasons I consider cephalopods top tier. Anolis have probably the most basic version of the color change perk, allowing them to shift between green and brown at will. While nowhere near as versatile as some other color changing builds, green and brown are pretty much all you'd need the vast majority of the time.
I mean, yeah, especially if you live in trees. It basically is. Especially like on the very top, where it's usually green and brown.
This change is very gradual though, so it's unlikely to allow you to escape
Wow,
mid-combat.
that's fast.
Which is unfortunate because, similar to the gecko, the Anoli suffers from a lack of combat options when caught out in the open.
They mostly do stealth. Huh.
Last in C tier we have the Gila monster. The Gila monster is one of the tankier lizard builds, and possesses one of the highest damage outputs in the game for its size. It owes this high damage not to its actual power stat, but to its venomous bite.
Oh, it has
lizards.
They have
This
poison.
makes them extremely dangerous in close combat, and combined with their excellent defensive stats and digging ability, this allows them to easily vanquish all of the players in any nest it discovers. The Gila monster is extremely slow moving though, which can cause issues if it's ever forced
Wait, aren't they the one that has like a bulky tails?
to flee, or if it needs to chase down a target.
Because I remember one lizard that has like a bulky tail, so it's kind of like a second head. So enemies does not know which one is the head. So if they bite the tail, you can just remove the tail and run away. Or if they bite the actual head, then it's game over. So it's kind of like a trickery, right?
The lack of a long whip-like tail also means its defensive combat options aren't near as diverse.
Or is it
as
a
other
different
larger
lizard?
lizards. Still, with one of the most devastating bites in the game, it's certainly no low tier.
Iguanas.
In B tier, we've got the tried and true iguana, arguably the best representative of the lizard build as a whole, as it has essentially all the main weaknesses and strengths of its class. I have an entire video on the iguana, so go check that out if you want an in-depth review. But in short, the iguana sports mid-range stats across the board, and is the first lizard on the tier list to make use of its tail for something other than a sacrificial scapegoat. The iguana's tail whip attack allows it to control a solid defensive zone around itself in all directions, enabling it to defend.
And considering how long most iguana's tails are, it's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt.
And itself from group attacks. Tail Whip's damage is on the low side though, so a persistent attacker could potentially just eat the damage in order to break through and land its own attacks. The iguana also has access to the
they can also remove it.
But this is
Oh yeah, fun fact about iguanas. You might or might not know. If they remove their tail, you know the black lines on their tail, that will not regrow. They will just have fully green tails. Because someone did say that. I don't know which one or when I found that out, but if it's true, then that's a fact that you should probably know and not know. Because it's kind of pointless without an actual iguana. And also, they also said if they have black tails, they're usually more valuable than the ones that don't have black tails, or black spots or stripes on their tails, because then they know that this iguana has not like removed its tail. It's still the original tail.
Up its best combat move in the process. Overall, a solid mid-tier with lots of potential, especially in the marine servers.
Oh, chameleons.
The chameleon build sports several of the most unique abilities in the game.
Tail,
So
mostly.
most lizards, especially
And tongue.
insectivorous ones, have a pretty simple game plan for taking down enemies. Chase
Bite.
them down and grab them. This strategy has a lot of limitations though. First of all, it means you've got pretty much no options to attack a player who is too large to grab. It also forces you to optimize heavily towards mobility, forcing you to neglect other potential strategies in order to have a chance at catching up to your target. The chameleon subverts this limitation by speccing into one of the strangest abilities in the game, a tether tongue attack. This essentially functions as a ranged grab, and is extremely effective at scoring the chameleon kills.
Oh yeah, definitely.
This also allows the chameleon the freedom to prioritize other stats over mobility, and in the chameleon's case, they're clearly optimized for stealth, as evidenced by their other special ability, color change. Now, while chameleons can change color in order to buff their camouflage, most use it for communication and intimidation.
And also, they also use it for like mating. Like the more beautiful your color are, the more chances you have for female chameleons.
Shifting to brighter colors to display dominance. While they don't have the same cling pads that geckos and anoles do, their prehensile tail gives them extra security to ensure that they don't get easily ripped out of trees, and allows them to attack from riskier positions. With all this said though, they still struggle when caught out in the open because of their low mobility. And they also share the same offensive weakness of not being able to take down players that they can't gulp down in a single bite.
Okay, sorry for that. Ad again.
They still struggle
But anyway,
out in the open because of their low mobility. And they also share the same offensive weakness of not being able to take down players that they can't gulp down in a single bite. The
TierZoo.
TierZoo is a lizard build that has long been overlooked, but has recently become a serious contender on the tier list. Its recent
Really?
invasion into the
How?
North American server has destabilized the local meta, and when you look at their stats, it's easy to see why.
Wow.
TierZoos are similar in both strategy and stats to the iguana, but slightly slower and more defense-oriented.
They kind of look like a smaller version of a Komodo dragon.
Their thicker hide and stockier build allows them to shake off attacks that would send other characters reeling. They've also got a higher intelligence stat than most lizards, which, in addition to making them surprisingly decent support builds, also makes them great at outsmarting builds like alligators in order to attack their nests. TierZoos are also omnivores, meaning they aren't forced to participate in PvP in order to level up. They did spec into the autonomy ability though, which I unfortunately think keeps them out of top tier. Before I reveal the top tier lizards, I just want to say real quick, if you've made it this far and are enjoying the video, it would sure make my day if you subscribed. Thanks.
Yeah.
So without a shadow of a doubt, the best lizard build is the monitor lizard.
Oh.
They have everything. They've got the best stats.
Wait, is this actually the end? I'm not gonna spoil myself.
Mobility,
I think there's one more.
Intelligence. Similar to the iguana, monitor lizards have an extremely powerful tail whip,
Yeah.
capable of deterring even top-tier predators.
Wow.
Monitor lizards also have a venomous bite, which again is a rarity in the lizard faction. While not the speediest lizards outright, they do have great versatility in their movement, being able to swim efficiently as well as climb most surfaces.
I mean, that's actually really cool and really powerful. Let's just think about that. That's actually really
not
powerful.
To the same degree as the marine iguana or the gecko.
Because you're sure they don't exceed on all of those, but it knows it. So it's kind of like a jack of all trades, master of none.
Respectively. Their high intelligence enables them to consistently figure out ways to successfully raid the spawn points of other players, and their high defense makes it so they can be rather difficult to stop once they've committed to an attack. This faction also contains the most powerful lizard in the game, a lizard that reaches near dinosaur levels.
The Komodo.
Komodo dragons are extremely powerful.
And extremely big. If you've seen a full-size Komodo dragon, you would know how big those are. And you also know one bite of them can technically, this bite right here, that can go off. They die by just one bite, by aka infection.
They have a venomous bite that, while not as powerful as cobra venom, is still powerful enough to seriously weaken even the tankiest builds. But even without that, they'd be an absolute powerhouse. Their tail swipes, claw slashes, and thrashing bites can easily shred through the HP of their targets.
Yep. And the bite that can break bones.
Which, while solid, isn't broken by any means. Still, with their incredible sense of smell, a player can never really truly escape a Komodo that's hunting them. The distance that you need to flee in order to make the Komodo unable to track you down would require you to leave the island server entirely. Last but certainly not least, Komodos, as well as the entire monitor lizard player base, understand that their tails are an invaluable weapon that shouldn't be sacrificed in order to escape a battle.
But used as a weapon.
The lizard tier list. Hopefully now you've got a good understanding of the...
Okay, so I don't think they put big lizards like crocodiles, for example, or snakes. Oh no, these are lizards. Those are... I'm not saying... Okay. I'm talking about pure reptiles, I think. Right? Anywho, I mean, that's actually really interesting. I think there's more, right?
Lizard strategies and matchups. Admittedly, there were a few things I had to cut from the script of this video to avoid demonetization or age restriction.
Oh, well, yes?
If you want to see the director's cut of this episode, you can check it out on Nebula, a streaming service made by and for creators. I do this with all of my new videos, uploading ad-free and uncensored versions of my videos,
if you want to see that, just go down the description down below, go to the original video, and go to the description.
If you're interested in hearing my character's backstory. Nebula has partnered with CuriosityStream to bring you both services for less than $15 a year, which is 26% off the price of what CuriosityStream alone normally goes for. CuriosityStream, if you somehow didn't already know, is another amazing streaming service where you can watch thousands of high-quality documentaries, including Amazing Dino World, a documentary about the aforementioned Mosasaurus. To get access, head to curiositystream.com/TierZoo. Thanks again to CuriosityStream for...
Okay, so yeah. And again, if you want to watch this without any for my commentary whatsoever, it's gonna be down in the description down below where the original video link is right there. So yeah. And I'm gonna say I'm actually happy. Why? Because I learned a lot and learned the strength and weaknesses of each lizard that is shown. Because I really like animals, just like everybody else, and lizards/reptiles are my favorite genre of animals. Again, except for a specific type of bird, and that's corvies or corvée. Basically, any crow, raven, corvins, bird type, I like them. It's literally my mascot. Not showing anymore. Anywho, I'm stuck and I don't know what to do. So let's just go and see you in the next video. Bye. I'm stuck and it's not showing anymore. I don't know what's happening. So bye. See you in the next video.